Hello, Larson Halleck here, and welcome back to Kung Fail. Today we're going esoteric, combining the typical bad martial arts stuff with stolen valor, Native American fake shaman bullshit, and a riveting collection of bizarre and grody sexual new age beliefs. This is Claude Harley Reagan, aka Swiftdeer, aka Thunderstrike, aka Unhwa Askenatan Anakawi. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that right. The saga of Claude Harley Reagan is quite fascinating and honestly pretty goddamn ridiculous. Much more so than any of the Kung Fail guys I've profiled before. He may not be the worst martial artist of the group, as you'll see, but he is the most bizarre and fantastical and quite possibly the worst sex fiend of the bunch. Claude Harley Reagan was born in 1940s Texas, and that is true as far as I can tell. From here, doing a biography of the man takes two very different forks. One mundanely and boringly real, and the other wildly fantastical. Let's go over the fantasy first. A registered member of the Cherokee Nation, Reagan claims that in 1958, he was the youngest, fastest graduating member of the Air Force Academy, and then transferred to the Marine Corps in 1960, just in time to be sent to the front lines of the communist insurgency in Taiwan. In said insurgency, he claimed that he saw young pregnant women impaled vagina to mouth, women's heads impaled on spikes, and the other horrors of war at their most base. It was in this insurgency, seizing a communist pillbox, that Reagan earned his first of many awards for valor, a Bronze Star. In 1964, he would do his first of 4 tours of duty in Vietnam, participating in many seek and destroy missions. One, named Operation Raincoat or the Battle of Bloody Heart, in which he would win a Silver Star. In this charnel pit, 250 Marines in Green Berets would fight a battalion of NVA soldiers. 17 men, including Reagan, would survive. 4 men would win the Medal of Honor for this, 2 men the Legion of Merit, and Reagan his Silver Star, as mentioned before. In his final battle in Laos, Reagan would evacuate from a shot-down helicopter, falling 300 feet and landing on his feet and only collapsing after all his comrades were safe. Returning from the war, seeking succor for his trauma, Claude and his loyal wife Diane devoted themselves full bore into the study of Native American mysticism, forming the Deer Tribe Metis Medicine Society after obtaining a PhD in psychology from the Pacific Cultural Institute for Advanced Studies in Hollywood. Simultaneously, while in Vietnam, he was a reservist for the United States Olympic Judo team at the 1964 Olympiad, and he won the World Jiu-Jitsu Championship in 1971. He also developed his own Native American-based martial arts style, Chilukua Ryu. He also teaches the ways of wilderness survival, rape defense, and spiritual healing. Reagan has also taken the time to develop his magical powers, up to and including shape-shifting and interdimensional travel. He has also dabbled in archaeology, claiming that Native Americans are the descendants of interstellar travelers from the planet Oirikanwia. Holy shit, look at all those accomplishments. Olympian, martial arts master, Silver Star winner, wizard, sex wizard. Shut up and take all my money. The problem with this is that it's a bunch of bullshit. We can quite easily debunk every single one of these claims. Except for one. He is in fact a martial artist. He has a black belt in Kodokan Judo, a first-degree Shodan. That is in fact verifiable from the United States Judo Association. But that's really all the truth we'll ever find with this guy. First of all, the obvious. He is not, in fact, a Cherokee or any Native American. In fact, several tribes have attempted to sue him for besmirching their good name. And I do mean besmirch. Claude Harley Reagan was, in fact, a cult leader, using a thin veneer of indigenous spirituality for his own devices. Now, as a cult leader, I must ask, did those devices include weird sex shit? Of course. I mean, why else would anybody make a cult, really? If this guy can form a cult and get laid, anybody can. So, a bit of a digression here. You kids looking at the PUA, don't do that. Start a cult instead. I'll come back to this sex stuff in a second, but we have more lies to debunk. His military service is also entirely fabricated. Nobody named Claude Reagan has ever served in the United States military. He did not fight in the communist insurgency in 1960s Taiwan. In fact, nobody did. Because there was no communist insurgency in 1960s Taiwan. I mean, certainly nothing to the level of women being impaled in the vagina in the village square. Really, Mr. Reagan, if you're gonna make up a fake war story, you could at least put it in a real, war. His stories, if you'll recall, go on to the Vietnam War. Now, at least there was an actual war going on in Vietnam at the time. But as you might imagine, none of his Vietnam stories hold up to scrutiny. There was never an Operation Raincoat or the Battle of Bloody Heart, and quite obviously, he did not survive a 300-foot fall from a helicopter. Academia? The Pacific Institute of Cultural Studies in Hollywood does not and has never existed. He quite obviously does not have a doctorate. Much like Steven Seagal, he has also claimed to have done black ops for the CIA and the NSA. He has not. There's also some plain weird stuff, like how he claims to be the reincarnation of Billy the Kid, and how he's a member of an organization called the Twisted Hairs that meets every 4 years, and has done so since 1254 BC, but only in the 5th dimension, you see. But let's return to the weird sex stuff, because that's what you perverts want to hear about. More specifically, I should explain why the Cherokee Nation has attempted to take this dickhead to court, not just for pretending that he's one of them. No, he has claimed that his sexual practices are part of their tradition, and among other things they do, is that at the age of 10, he and other boys are sexually initiated into the tribe by a fire woman. That is not something the Cherokee do or have ever done. As you might imagine, the tribe found the allegations that pedophilia is widespread in their tribe to be, a little offensive. I'm gonna be honest with you, the reason that the title of this video is both Kung Fail and PUAHole is that I could not find much documentation of Reagan's martial arts teaching, but I could find an abundance of documentation about the weird sex stuff. What are those practices that Reagan teaches? He claims that you can reach higher levels of orgastic sexual intensity. Orgastic is not a word. Learn fire breathing to tap into the life force rhythm. Balance your masculine and feminine energies. Categorize genital types of both sexes. Certainly penises and vaginas can look different, but I think they all work the same, like there's not different types. I couldn't find many videos of Thunderstrike himself, perhaps he was wise enough to do so, but his disciple, Amara Charles, initiated in 1987, is fairly prolific. Let's hear what she has to say.
What Oshka says is that all of those sexual preferences, sexual choices are equally beautiful, and they are indeed your choice of how you can best learn and grow in this lifetime for you. The idea of Kwadoshka is that down deep, it's really okay to have pleasure. When we have pleasure, that turns into the light arrow of self-love, and this turns into abundance and prosperity and freedom, so that you can begin to pick up the light arrows and receive the gifts of your expression.
As you can imagine, this is all lies and chicanery. From people who have left the cult has people shove things up their ass. It has nude women wrestling while the men watch and cheer. Sometimes there will be group sexual assaults on one woman. Sometimes men will be pressured into homosexual activity against their will. It's all part of breaking the will, according to those who used to be in the group. It's also worth pointing out that Harley uses the term chakra in something allegedly based in pre-Columbian American cultures. Yeah, jackass, that's the wrong kind of Indian. The name of the cult, Chulaquai Kwadoshka, that is itself a bunch of chicanery. Chulaquai is in fact a term referring to the Cherokee people, and Kwadoshka is a somewhat lewd term for the penis. This too has been denounced in no uncertain terms by legal representatives. Mr. Reagan has had some mainstream prominence. As you might expect, Kung Fu magazine and Black Belt magazine fell for his nonsense. He was also on HBO in 1992, on Real Sex in America, hawking his crap. Ah, the days when cable TV would put on any fraud. This was one of the major catalysts for Mr. Reagan being sued. There was also a porno movie made of Kwadoshka in the guise of a documentary, fitting that several porn stars, most notably Portia Lynn, have been involved in Reagan's little sex cabal. Claude Reagan was also on Coast to Coast AM talking about shadow people. Are they fifth dimensional travelers also? Anyway, Reagan died in 2013, thank God. Yeah, people, I'm not of any Native American ancestry, but honestly, I am incredibly offended at this sort of brazen fraud. And if you'll pardon the expression, cultural appropriation. I don't like using the term cultural appropriation because it's usually some nonsense where woke black women vent their resentments of white women in some stupid way. But no, this is legitimate cultural appropriation, and it's disgusting. This is a fraud besmirching a group of people's name to sexually and financially exploit others, wildly misrepresenting their traditions for his own fiduciary benefit. I set out to bag on a martial arts fraud, and I walked into a guy who evidently saw more value in sexual exploitation than martial arts exploitation. Whatever, it's shit either way. Claude Harley Reagan is none of what he claims to be, and if you were ever approached by anybody from his organization, I'm looking at you, Amara Charles, back away immediately. I'm Larson Halleck, keep on training, and the Kwadoshka people can go fuck themselves. And now, a word from our sponsors. Hello, are you a fan of Larson Halleck and the Barbaric Gentleman? Of course you are, otherwise you wouldn't be watching. Would you like to help the channel grow? Would you like to help me out? If so, here's how you can. You can go to patreon.com/LarsonHalleck and join the ranks of these illustrious heroes. You can also go to www.paypal.me/LarsonHalleck to also donate some money. You can also buy my book. The Patreon, the PayPal, and the link to my book are all found in the video description. You can also follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. I no longer advertise my Gab because Gab sucks. Otherwise, enjoy, keep watching the videos, and spread the word.